Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
Well, there you have it. The Philadelphia Eagles, in the worst division in the history of the sport, are eliminated from playoff contention with a week to go. It truly is embarrassing, and I think this game showed you everything you needed to know about the quarterback position. I will say the same that I did when Carson Wentz had a ton of issues. If you fixed everything around him, you will get better play from the quarterback position. I thought Jalen Hurts struggled. He was not as smooth as we are used to, and I think it was because the offensive line, false starts, holding, the head coach getting away from the run game. Miles Sanders, 8 carries in the first half. 7 total in the rest of the game. So from that awesome game plan from the jump that worked so well, the read option, moving downfield, scoring 2 touchdowns in the first 2 drives, you got away from that, so that didn't work. Everything surrounding this team, the playmakers struggled. It ultimately played a role in how Jalen Hurts played the game, and it was crystal clear, in my opinion, that this team is flat out awful. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be intrigued with what Jalen Hurts brought to the table, because he played 3 games to this point, and while this was not the best we've seen out of him, he has shown glimpses of phenomenal play. He does seem like he has the character where this eats him alive. He takes this pain and he allows it to sit inside of him so he can take the proper steps moving forward. That's the kind of guy he seems to be. So I'm not totally ripping him. If anything, I'm saying, look, I know he's better, but because the supporting cast was so abysmal, you got the big-time blowout. And I don't want to hear that, well, look, they were so down because the defense got shredded, he had to throw the ball out. No, he didn't. Nope. No, he did not. Because when the Eagles were down in the game against, not New Orleans, who did they play after that? Arizona. They were down 16-0, right? What did he do? Well, he had great balance. They ran the football. They utilized Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts together, and they came back. So don't tell me because they were down, they weren't allowed to run the ball and they had to be forced to throw the ball. No. That's a lie. That's what it is. It's a lie. So, by the way, we are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. Yeah, I'm furious with everybody surrounding this football team, but I also think this is what was needed. This is what they needed. They needed a reality check. You are not who you thought you were the last couple of games. This is who you truly are. And you saw the spark fizzle out a bit. Look, injuries played a major role, though. There's no denying it. When Fletcher Cox went out, things changed. You have a banged-up secondary. Jaquette better hope that tire company he used to work for is still hiring, because his ass is getting shit back to that place. That's his only option. There's no way he can play football again. And I truly think it's laughable, although I understand why people do this. I think it's laughable that we were at that point of saying, put Jalen Mills at corner. That's the solution. And to be fair, that is a better option than Jaquette. That's more saying, holy hell, Jaquette can't stand a chance against Gallup. He can't stand a chance against anybody out there. You need to put Jalen Mills at that spot. Imagine screaming for him to be your savior. That's telling you everything you need to know about where you are with the depletion of this team. So injuries definitely played a role. Look, Fletcher Cox not being available after he was banged up. I guess Deshaun Jackson had another injury after that big-time bomb, explosive play. Holy shit, that was fun to watch. A Deshaun Jackson home run hit. But then you didn't see him ever again. Well, apparently got a little bit nicked up from playing, and he probably pushed it a bit to get back out there. And I don't know if it re-injured the same thing, but it was obvious that something happened. with him going back out there on the football field. And typical Deshaun Jackson, this is what he does. He comes back, you get excited, look at the offense, look how it's going to be able to spread the field, think about what can happen underneath, how this opens up so much in the passing game, and then after one glimpse, after one shining moment, if you will, you never see him again, and his ass is sitting on the bench with some sort of injury. But getting back to the point I'm still trying to make here, on the defensive line, Fletcher Cox, no Josh Sweat, no Derek Barnett. And I'm not the biggest Derek Barnett fan in the world, but when you are losing that type of depth, 3 players of that nature on your defensive line, which is your bread and butter, yeah, you are going to struggle. It's not going to be easy. And that's when the game instantly flipped. Now, I'm torn because I think this question is being raised, and it's so interesting. So here's the question. Who do you blame? Do you blame the offense or do you blame the defense? Well, here's why I don't blame the defense, even though I know that they were a major issue. This is what happens when you play in the NFL with garbage players. This is what's supposed to happen when your personnel stinks. Robey-Coleman getting shredded for a touchdown. At one point, you have Rudy Ford Arnold. Who the hell is Arnold? Epps. This is your secondary. Jaquette. It's trash. Oh, well, Jim Schwartz has to stop playing man. That's what I see everyone say. Well, he did switch it up. He did play some zone. Guess what happened? Andy Dalton found the soft coverage. Andy Dalton found the holes in the zone. At some point, you just don't have many options. You don't have the solution. There is no fix. This is what you have when you are this banged up. So I don't blame the defense because this is what's supposed to happen. But with the offense, you score 14 points early. You look great. Your offense is moving along. And oh, by the way, this defense blows. The Dallas Cowboys have a historically pathetic defense. They can't stop the run whatsoever, but you get away from it. They can't stop much, but you can't move the football. And penalties cause problems. As much as I want to rip Doug Pederson, which he has a fault at this, definitely. His fingerprints are all over the downfall of this football team. But it's also hard to call a game and get into rhythm when your offensive lineman, Matt Pryor, Isaac Seumalo, when these guys are getting holding penalties, getting false start penalties, and pushing your offense back. It's hard to get into any sort of rhythm, and that does force you to throw the football more because you are in longer situations. So I am aware of that. I'm not acting as if that's not a major concern in this conversation. But at the same time, I'm not giving Doug Pederson a free pass either because he's been here how long, and how many games do we sit here screaming and scratching our head with how he utilizes the pass and run? It's not rocket science. This team, this Dallas Cowboys team, they struggle stopping the football, stopping the run when the opposing team runs the football. You had 9 rushes in the first drive, 2 throws. Now, some of those rushes came from Jalen Hurts, where it might have not necessarily been a called running play, but it's not rocket science. It's not ironic that ended up working out. And, of course, Dallas will make adjustments, and they'll figure out what you're doing, but they haven't all year for a lot of teams, so I'm not going to try and act as if they have the best defensive strategy after halftime to figure this mess out. They absolutely don't. So I look at the offense and I say, you get outscored 34-3 with the late punch in, to be fair, but 34-3 against this defense in a must-win opportunity. You got to win this game. This is essentially a playoff game, and that's what you gave them. That's what you gave us. 3 points after that outstanding 14-point start to the game, where I thought it was a no-brainer. This team was going to roll. It was going to be fun. They were going to destroy the Cowboys. Early on, this offense just looked great. Then what happened? While on the other side, and once again, you got slop back there. Gallup had a day. Amari Cooper had a day. Zeke had a day. I wonder if they were going to have 6, 7, or 8 guys go for over 100-plus yards. But when you pick guys up off the street left and right, and when you just have bad talent, this is the outcome. All right, so look, there were 3 drives that I want to point out. when I look at this game, 3 drives stand out to me. Because let's be realistic. Did the Eagles not have plenty of chances to win this game? Even if it was a double-digit lead for the Cowboys allowed the Eagles to stay involved. They had plenty of opportunities late, but they couldn't cash in. So all these yards that they allowed, it ultimately ended up with what? Nothing! Barely any points! So that's not good enough for me. So let's start here. I got 1 early and 2 late. And the 2 drives are kind of combined because they were in the same area in the game. But we'll start with the early one. Eagles are up 14-3 at this point. The Dallas Cowboys go 3 and out. And on 3rd and 4, Mike McCarthy, the genius that he is, decides to run the football right up the gut, try and get a first down on the Eagles' best part of their defensive unit, on the strongest part of their football team. Real genius. So right here, you have a chance to step on their throats so early, to make a damn statement, to grab more points, to attack them, to kick them when they're down. And Doug Pederson goes super soft. I don't know what his game plan was during this drive, but they essentially did the same exact thing that the Cowboys did. It made no sense. The logic wasn't there, and the Eagles gave the football right back to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, could you imagine the difference if you grab some points? Let's just say they get a field goal. Well, now it's 17-3. You take clock off. You run the time. Huge difference. Who knows what can happen? And if you get a touchdown, and remember at that point, your offense actually looked solid, it could have been 20-3, 21-3. But you put together this trash drive, nothing going, terrible execution, and you give the football right back. That allows Dallas to do what they want. It allows them to have some life. That's what they did. They had some confidence at that point. Oh, we stopped them. Let's go, fellas. Well, guess what? Big turning point for me. It might sound subtle, huge turning point for me. But the one that stands out the most, and like I said, it's 2, but it's kind of combined into 1, is 3rd quarter, 2:02 to go. The Eagles get great field position after stopping the Dallas Cowboys. They had to punt. You have a 3rd and 5, and Miles Sanders was wide open. Jalen Hurts is rolling towards the sideline. Wide open. Could have dumped it off to him, but instead, he elects to take it, and he's short of the first down, which crushed him. Because after that, they get a delay of game. They're at the Cowboys' 46-yard line. They get a delay of game? Now, does that go on the quarterback there? You got to get the ball going. Come on. You can't allow for that to happen. That's unacceptable. You cannot have a delay of game in that moment. 4th and short turns to 4th and long. Put yourself in a terrible spot. Now you got to get rid of the football. Now, I thought Doug Pederson would keep his big balls, keep his nutsack, and elect to go for it anyway. Because at that time, they're down. You know, it's not like they're in control and they're playing well. No, they got to get some points on the board. You can feel the sense of urgency was there. They got to grab points. They got to find a way to grab some momentum back. But instead, self-inflicting wounds, and you got to punt the football away. But I really did think Doug was going to go for it on 4th and 8 regardless. But he did not elect to do that. So after all that happened, this was 30-17, by the way, the score was. I knew I wrote it down, but I couldn't find it instantly. So 3rd and 17, and knowing, keep in mind, that your defense to this point was not getting stops. It's not like your defense was insanely lethal, and they were shredded all game long. Let's be realistic. So with that mindset, too, and with that philosophy, you would think that at that point, Doug would keep his foot on the gas to try and get some sort of offense because, well, you got your hands tied behind your back and you got to go out there and give it a try, give it an attempt. So after that happened, Darius Slay gets the interception. Definitely some juice involved, right? You could sense on the sideline, guys are hype, and let's look at it. Darius Slay, who you brought in, a big acquisition this offseason, someone new, a big name, your number 1 corner. It's not like he's been intercepting balls all season long, so he does this. in a win-or-go-home type game. Here we go, boys. I'm looking for that energy boost. I'm looking for that spark plug because in this game, the Jalen Hurts spark plug ran out after the first couple of drives. So I'm looking to see who's going to make that play. Who's going to get the guys going? Who's going to bring that motor? When Darius Slay gets the interception, because he's one of your top dogs, so to speak, that would naturally bring the noise. That would naturally get everyone going. Well, you ready for this? Because this is embarrassing. This is putrid. That's what it is. Miscommunication between Jalen Reagor and Jalen Hurts, so it seemed. And we'll get to Jalen Reagor more as we continue, because what the hell was that performance? Holding on Matt Pryor. False start on Zach Ertz. The ball was batted down at the line of scrimmage. Isaac Seumalo with the false start. Turnover on downs. And not kicking it and trying a field goal. Now, it was 4th and 15. It would have been a 51-yarder. How do I feel about not grabbing points? I'm someone who realizes that Elliott has been a huge problem. Huge. Here's why I can totally acknowledge why others are questioning Doug Pederson in that scenario. You're not going to go for it on 4th and 8 earlier, but 4th and 15, you're going to go for it. And look at the play they ran. They threw it short of the sticks by a ton to Zach Ertz, the guy that everybody criticizes for not having yards after the catch. That's what he doesn't do. So the play you're going to rock and roll with is get it to Zach Ertz short of the sticks. Now, was that the first option on the play? Yeah, there's a lot involved when you dive back into the tape study. But seriously, think about it. You're going to throw it short of the sticks to a guy who never gets yards after the carry or after the catch. I mean, it's a joke, really. So if you want to compare it to other decisions he made in the game, it seemed like a panic move. It seemed like an uh-oh move. Uh-oh, my ass is clenched. My ass is a little clenched there. What do we do? Oh, we got to go for it. I don't have a lot of faith in Jake Elliott personally. So the 50-plus yarder for a field goal kicker who's been brutal and your season's on the line, I don't necessarily disagree with not going to your kicker, someone you can't trust at all, to just say, oh, well, you left points on the board. Your kicker's been garbage. Your kicker's been awful. Your special teams unit has been bad. Boston Scott, on a special teams play, fumbled the football. Now, luckily, it went out of bounds and it didn't cost the team anything. But all around, your special teams has been one of the biggest F-minuses on the report card since the season really began. So, I don't know. I mean, really, the 50-plus yarder, you're going to be mad that he didn't go for it with Jake Elliott? I think I'm more mad about the message because it doesn't relate to what he did earlier in the game. And that says a lot about Doug P because there's a lot of confusion happening when it comes to him, when it comes to the game plan, when it comes to in-game decisions, when it comes to play calling. There's confusion all around. He's not a great thinker on his feet. That is absolutely a common theme. So those are like the three series that stick out to me when it comes to this game. But there's a lot more. Of course, Jalen Hurts made some bad decisions later on. He threw the interception in the end zone, which wasn't solid. He ended up with 2 interceptions. The one fumble, the replay booth said, I guess they stayed what was on the field. Because you did see the ball come loose. I will admit that it was super insanely close, but did I feel there was enough evidence to overturn it and give it back to the Eagles? Yes. I did think that there was enough. It was close because that ball was moving, so I technically understand why they would maybe stay with the call on the field, but I do, in my heart of hearts, believe that they did make the wrong call. But I see why they stayed with the call, but I do disagree with it. His knee was down just maybe a half a second before the ball definitely left his hand as it was cradled towards his body. But he does have a fumbling issue. This isn't the first time. He lost the ball earlier in the game, and he does lose the football a lot. And that's a conversation we have with Carson Wentz as well. So we have 2 quarterbacks at the moment that struggle with keeping the football in their hands. Now, after the game, we find out that Jalen Hurts is nicked up, banged up a bit. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I don't think he's going to use it as an excuse, nor is the head coach or anyone involved in this organization would use that as an excuse for the play that you got. Because a lot of it was self-inflicted. Penalties, the whole entire team being undisciplined. And when that happens, it goes back to the coach. Right or wrong, if Matt Pryor makes a mistake because he's bad and there's a false start or there's a holding, if you're undisciplined and you have that many penalties, it goes back to the head coach. But I want to touch on the nicked up part of Jalen Hurts. He is a guy who's willing to take hits. He is a guy who's willing to lower his shoulder. Hell, you saw that first play. He ended up stepping out of bounds. Not the first play, but it was early in the game in the first couple of drives. He got into the end zone. He did step out of bounds earlier, so it was called back, but he was willing to lower the shoulder, take the hit, get in the end zone. He's always going to take those shots because he's a physical runner. Well, we're 3 games into this, and he's already nicked up. Is this sustainable? Is this something that you can rely on for a full 16-game season? I do think he has some girth. If you want to look at some of the smaller guys that run around, Lamar Jackson's like a twig. Kyler Murray's a smaller guy. Jalen Hurts, he has some beef to the bones. He is a thicker guy, which is good for this type of mentality and this type of play that he operates with. But I'm just saying, look, you're 3 games into this, and now you're hearing after the game, well, you were limited at times because he was nicked up. Well, this is 3 of 16 if you're talking about him being a starting quarterback for your franchise. If you thought that Jalen Hurts was going to come in and all your other issues were fixed and everything was going to be completely covered up, well, that's not the case. This only allows the conversation to expand even more. And I think this is a very fair question to ask. And there's a lot of questions, because this is where the organization is right now. So I feel like I'm constantly saying, well, this is a question you should look at. This is a question you should ask yourself. But that's what happens when you're in this debacle and you're in this dilemma. So when you look at Carson Wentz, Game 16, Week 17, you're going up against the Washington football team, a game that doesn't matter for you. Do you give him a chance? Do you let him go play? No stress. Nothing really matters. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Whatever. Who cares? Now, I know you have Dallas, you have New York, you have Washington. They're all playing and battling and doing what they want to do to try and get into the postseason. But you're out of this if you're looking at it from an Eagles perspective. Do you let Carson Wentz just try and find a little bit of rhythm? Or do you look at it and say, what does that do? You're not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt here. You're going to throw a kid in there and more into the fire? It's already been abysmal. It's already been a joke. You just showed everybody that there's so many issues with this team. You're going to throw him back into those issues? What do you think's going to happen? So, there's 2 sides to this. I wouldn't be opposed to him getting the nod, but I also wouldn't be opposed to just seeing more out of Jalen Hurts, because the more you see, the more information you have for a crucial franchise-changing decision that is occurring in the upcoming offseason. So, I don't want to be making those decisions. But I'll tell you what decisions you should make. Going to DraftKings Sportsbook and putting in money on all these games, because there's so much to dive into and there's so much action occurring in the sports world. While the holiday season may be winding down, the sports calendar is in full swing this week. From collegiate to professional sports, there's no shortage of action, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. If you haven't tried out DraftKings Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? To celebrate this year's college football playoffs, DraftKings is giving all new users the chance to bet on any semifinal team to win the championship at 100-1 odds. That's right. All you have to do is bet $1 on any semifinal team to win the championship. And if your team wins, you cash a $100. While we're all excited about football, let's not forget the 2021 basketball season just kicked off. So head to the app now and check out all that DraftKings has to offer with their daily odds boost. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to get 100-1 odds on any semifinal team to win it all. That's code Brodes for new players to get a shot at $100 on any semifinal this week for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. 7 minutes to go. Hurts. That's when he threw the interception in the end zone. But there was some flow with the offense at that point. Just a little, just a tiny bit to get down to the territory of actually scoring 7 points. Ran the ball, that nice play to Alshon Jeffrey down the sideline. Alshon seemed to be coming alive now that the quarterback change happened because it's clear he hates Carson Wentz. Zach Ertz had to catch up the middle. It's been brutal, though. This game, I think, just defines everything that has happened to this point. You look at it from a coaching standpoint. Doug Pederson was a mess, got away from his game plan. The offensive line was a mess. And there's been a lot of talk around the respected NFL people who cover the team, study a lot of tape, that we need to take a deep breath and maybe a step back when it comes to Jordan Mailata. You know, we were excited. Look, you might have your left tackle of the future. And I'm not trying to act as if he stinks, he's a bum, he's awful. And I don't think anybody else is claiming that either. But let's just take a couple steps back because there has been some glaring holes in his game. There has been some issues. Now, there's been some bright spots. This is a guy who's never played football in his entire life, and he's getting thrown into the left tackle position. So from that standpoint, I really am aware that he has shown some good signs, and I think he is going to battle it out with Andre Dillard in the offseason. Talk about all this drama. You have a first-round draft pick in Dillard who's going to be battling with a seventh-round guy who's never played the damn sport in his life. But I'm just bringing it up because people are seeing that it's not as pretty and glorious as maybe we thought when it came to Jordan Mailata. And I think this offensive line as a whole, there's so many question marks. Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, these guys are constantly getting injured. Jason Kelsey, he's a warrior. How much time does he have left? And these are more off-season podcast conversations for sure, but I'm just looking at this offensive line for this game, and I talk about how this game defined what the season was from the coaching standpoint. I didn't think his game plan got away from the game plan. And I think that there's factors why that happened, but there's still ways for you to dial it back together and put your team in a better position. He definitely failed from that. So the head coach, I thought he was bad. The offensive line I thought was bad. The playmakers, the skill position players, I thought that they were bad. I thought the quarterback played bad. Now, if things around him are fixed, just like I think with Carson, I think if things were better around Carson, I think you would see better play. And yes, Carson, he was a big problem, and he was a big reason why things looked bad as well. He was a part of it. I say the same with Jalen Hurts. I'm going to keep it 100. I thought Hurts made bad decisions, made poor throws. I also feel that if the offensive line wasn't as bad, if the wide receivers were better, if the play calling and the scheme was better at times, if everything surrounding him was better, you would see a better Jalen Hurts. The last couple of weeks, it was great. You beat the Saints. You beat Arizona. It's not like you can't win any football games, but if you want to talk about sustainable play and winning football and more of a longer period of time, well, yeah, you can't survive with this long term. It can work a week here, a week there for a couple games, but it's not like you can just win with this type of attitude with all these flaws in your quarterback, just making it look like there's no issues with the franchise and no issues with the organization. That's not how it is. It's not as simple as a quarterback change. So I'm intrigued with Jalen Hurts. I really am. I think he showed some awesome stuff. But just like I alluded to after last game, I put up a pod. I got ripped for it from some, but I don't give a damn. I tell you how I feel. I wasn't solely 100% in on Jalen Hurts that he's the quarterback that he showed you for 2 straight games. There's so much to factor into this. And this is going up against a historically pathetic, god-awful defense in Dallas, and he struggled. And there's a lot of reasons why he struggled. But there's reasons why I didn't buy in and say this is exactly who he is because of 2 games. But I know he's better than what he showed tonight, and I think he's got the right attitude and the proper mindset to take this information over the last handful of games and only apply that to his skill set, apply that to his knowledge to take the next step in his career, because he does seem to be wired differently. He does seem to have that trait that not everybody has. You can't learn the trait of, being that warrior back there. And you hear about the teammates talking about him from the leadership standpoint and him from his personality standpoint, and it's different. In a good way. So how does he utilize this and move forward after taking a pretty bad beating and a big loss to put the Eagles out of playoff contention? This is the worst division ever. And somehow on week 16, they're out of it. They're not even in play. And think about the teams that still are. A Washington team that has a disaster quarterback situation at the moment. A Giants team that has fallen off since they went on a nice stretch of winning some football games. They're confused as well. They're just in it because other teams are holding them in it. And you got to remember, going into this game, what did you need? You needed the Ravens to win, which they took care of business easily. You needed the Carolina Panthers to beat up on Washington, which they took care of business. If they took care of business here, let's be realistic. You're probably feeling solid, really solid, about next Sunday, about Week 17, about beating the Washington team, even though they lost last game. Week 1 of the season. You would feel good about it. That would be a couple wins in a row for this football team. You got a chance to make the playoffs, even though it would be a joke of a division win. It would be a division win. You would have felt good. But I think this is almost telling. And I'm not rooting for it. I'm not one of those that said, I don't want to make the playoffs. If you told me Jalen Hurts would have went on a ride, took this team to the postseason, to think that you wouldn't want that, come on. I am totally seeing that they have so many issues where they need to draft and they need to grab guys. But there's guys all around. And I know that they are limited when it comes to picking. They are not the best at picking. They bring in John Dorsey. What type of role is he going to have? They are acknowledging that Howie Roseman hasn't been doing good enough from a player talent evaluation standpoint, so they brought in someone respected like John Dorsey. But if you told me you get a playoff run, even if it's a loss in a home playoff loss, I don't care. I'm taking that over a draft pick. I'm sorry. Playoff football over a draft pick. So that was my mentality. So I'm a little bummed, but I think this is telling. I think this is the right way for it to play out. I think if they snuck in and they made it, that shouldn't have been the outcome, but I would have taken it. I would have accepted it. But I don't think that was right. This is the football god saying, this is what you deserve. And I mentioned Jalen Reagor, by the way. Before I forget, I definitely have to go back to him and touch on Jalen Reagor. I just was blown away with some of the stuff I saw out of him. What was that? The play right before the first half ended? They tried to catch the Dallas Cowboys off guard, pretending to do a knee. They tried to move downfield a bit, and then here he is. He gets the ball in space with a ton of field ahead of him, rolling full speed. And what does he do? He finds a Dallas Cowboys player to fall into. Hey, come tackle me! Hey, come tackle me. Not that this is a high percentage play by any means, but I thought that was boneheaded. I talked about during the one drive late in the game that was very important where there was miscommunication between him and Jalen Hurts. I just did not like what I saw out of Jalen Reagor. How about the play in the end zone where Jalen Hurts overthrew him a bit, but I think there's a reason why. Jalen Reagor with the route was Jalen Hurts anticipating him to be farther back in the route. Was the route supposed to be different? Jalen Reagor in his route running has always been suspect. There's always been a bit of an issue. Did he give up in the middle of the play? Did he go full speed? Did he stop? I mean, it's just a nightmare sometimes with Reagor. And I was someone who, because look, everyone freaked out at the time of the draft. And I said, what are you freaking out about? You know nothing about the kid. With all due respect, you're just screaming because it's not somebody else. You're not even giving him a fair shot. And I think he's better than this. You see that he can catch the football. He does have a skill set that I think he will translate into this league and be better than what he was tonight. But at the time of the draft, everyone just freaked out just because it's not someone else. You didn't even give the guy a fair shot. You were just screaming to scream. Give the kid a chance. Well, after I assessed this season, bigger picture, he was banged up and he had some moments and he had some ugly moments. He's no Justin Jefferson. That's clear as day. Tonight, I was a little disappointed in him, but going back to how I felt from the start with him, and I still think there's more left in the tank, I just didn't like the overreaction to him and people just writing him off as some guy who completely blows. I don't think he blows, but I do question some of his play and some of his decisions to this point, but now I see tape, and I think it's fair to do it. Before, you're just assessing it because he went to TCU and he played with a fourth-string quarterback, so his stats didn't pop as much. And, that's my kind of take on it. But, whew, how about it? Disappointing. Very disappointing. I mentioned that question about should Carson Wentz start. Well, on Sided, which is a phenomenal app, and I'll put the link in the description, I raised the question. It's a debate app where you can go back and forth with sports. I have my own profile. Like I said, I'll have everything down below in the description. Sided actually gives away gift cards and money for people who do the best debates of the week and do the best debates, and there's a ranking system. So I've been putting out a couple debates a week on the app. They also have a website. Make sure you go check it out. And lastly here, I need to let you know about my friends at Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, Orbit Energy and Power is home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely by offering flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, they make sure you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Check out their information, which is also down below in the description. All right, so what I want you to do, if you have not already, call the number, 856-442-9805. That's my anytime hotline number. You can call in, leave your reaction, and tomorrow I will do the day after podcast, which I normally do, and I will react to your phone calls. I'll also be implementing them on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN from 2 to 6 p.m. tomorrow as we dissect this game even more. A lot to look into, right? A lot to look at with this game and kind of dissect what happened and how that relates to all of the issues that we've seen surrounding this football team for so damn long this season. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.